Hi Vaishnavi, open.
Hi, people.
Good morning.
Good morning. For you.
I'm good. Here's your cup of coffee and nothing for you. So you shouldn't drink and drive.
What is this? Yeah.
It's such a good weather and having a hot cup of coffee, it's bliss. Thank you so much, Vaishnavi. It just made my day.
Pleasure, Mega. My pleasure. Mega, don't you think this coffee feels a little different today?
Maybe it's going through a coffee rose breakup.
Maybe.
Good you brought this up. So today I'm taking you a place where coffee gets judged for these kind of crimes.
So, are we going to CBI crime branch?
Not CBI, but yes, we are going to Coffee Board of India, where your questions get answered by Coffee Quality Division.
So, is there a place where people taste coffee for living?
Yes, there is.
Oh, nice.
I would love to know what they have to say about this one actually.
I feel it's going to be a very good experience learning about how a great coffee is made.
Yeah, actually. We are really excited to.
You will enjoy it. So trust me, from today you will never judge your coffee blindly. I'll make you meet the real OGs of coffee.
Wow. Exciting, Mega?
Very.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Let's go.
A few minutes later.
Good morning, sir. It's an absolute meeting you today. So that's Vaishnavi and she's Megha. So he's a man I was talking about, Mr. Mandappa from Coffee Quality Division. He's a OG of coffee in India, right? So I have spoken a lot about you with them, right? And I want you to introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, I'm Dr. Mandappa. I head the quality wing here at the Coffee Board. So anything to do with quality when it comes to Indian coffee, basically we are the people who facilitate all the other stakeholders and anything to do with quality. I have a fantastic team here and a good organization which I work in. So I come from a coffee background, and one more reason I'm here. I come from Coog, which is also a coffee growing region, and one more reason for me to be here.
Sir, every job has its rhythm. What's the day-to-day like at Coffee Board?
Of course, closer to home, and every day is different out here. We do a lot of coffee tasting here, organoleptic evaluation of coffee. We do have some very sophisticated instruments in terms of the e-nose and the e-tongue. And at the end of the day, our reports really matter to both the grower, who is our major stakeholder, and the main person in the entire value chain who brings in that raw material or the green coffee. After which, everybody in the value chain, be it an exporter, be it a roaster, everybody avails their services from our lab. So I think it's a very critical role, a huge responsibility, but I enjoy it.
Can you show us the place where coffee gets tasted?
Yes, why don't we just step out and show you our lab. It's a state-of-the-art lab which we've developed under the TIE scheme from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This was done in the early 2018-19s. We started formally in 2021 with the new lab, and now we can proudly say we are NABL accredited. So we are ISO IEC 17025 accreditation, which is something which we are very proud of, because we are the only lab in Asia to be.
Like an international.
It's an international standard organization certification. But we are a certified testing laboratory, an NABL certified testing laboratory. We are the only one in Asia to be certified for organoleptic evaluation or sensory evaluation of coffee currently. Please come. Okay, let him go. We'll start from here basically.
So what happens when the samples arrives in Coffee Board of India? Like, what's the first step?
Yeah, before we go there, we get most of our samples in the green bean form. This is what you mean by green coffee or clean coffee, per se. At the farm level, before we get to the green beans, at the farm level, a farmer processes it majorly in 3 different ways. One is your unwashed or your cherry processed coffee or your natural coffee, where he harvests the ripe cherries and he sun dries them or mechanically dries them. The most common process is the wash process coffee, where the ripe cherries are harvested. They undergo a process called pulping. This is a primary process which happens in the thing, where the outer skin is removed, the mucilage washed off to get something called as parchment coffee or your washed process coffee. Why it is called parchment is you have a nice parchment layer over the coffee. You peel it off. You peel and polish it to get something called as green coffee.
It's called like silver.
It's a silverish layer. It's like a parchment layer, parchment paper kind of a layer. So it's around. So once you peel and polish it, what you get is a green bean or green coffee. And in India, as per the Indian Coffee Board standards, we classify our coffees based on size and a little bit of defect count or a tolerance limit as we call it. We have an Indian Coffee Board standard which is recognized both domestically and internationally, and based on this we have classified our coffees into 3 specialty coffees. One is the Monsoon Malabar, both Arabica and Robusta, which is a very special coffee which I'll speak about a little more later on. We have the Mysore Nuggets Extra Bold. It's a washed processed Arabica coffee of a particular size. The beans are extra bold. So in terms of size, they sit on a screen size of 16 and 19 and above. So that's why you have the extra bold beans here. Then you have Robusta Capi Royale. This is again a specialty Robusta coffee. India has the distinction of growing both Arabica and Robusta. This is again a grade specific coffee of a particular size. It's a washed processed Arabica Robusta coffee of a particular size. Our Indian Robustas, we can proudly say, especially our wash processed Robustas, are some of the finest in the world. And they always fetch a premium. Okay. Other than that, we have 10 premium grades, again based on size and certain defect parameters which have to be negated from the lot. And we have 25 commercial grades. All this is basically for trade purpose.
What is the probability that coffee can sustain till 2050?
Okay, like it's an agricultural produce. This is just an image of a typical coffee estate. In India, we grow it under a shade system. It's a 2-tier shade system, which is again very unique. Other countries, they grow it in the open. So we are a more sustainable, eco-friendly way of cultivation, if I can call it. There's also this theory of by 2050, coffee in the world may not exist because it's very sensitive to climate and other weather vagaries. So in our case, I think I can confidently say because of the way we grow it in India, we are surely going to go beyond the 2050 and be more sustainable in nature.
You're basically protecting the coffee plant.
Yes, the ecosystem around there, both the flora and the fauna which exists there. You have natural native timber yielding trees as the first tier, which are the bigger trees you see. The second tier is basically your maybe your fruiting trees, certain other trees. We also intertwine our trees with a lot of pepper, which acts as a secondary crop. We have a lot of mandarins. Of late, avocados and butterfruits have taken center stage. What you see down here are the coffee bushes. Okay.
Trees are grown to shade the
coffee. We have a harsh summer. So basically, Arabicas grow better at higher elevations. They grow at around 25 degrees Celsius is what is ideal for them. Anything over that is a little too much. Robustas can grow at lower elevations. They are much more robust, but they're drought prone. So they need a lot of water in comparison to Arabica. During the blossom, the coffee estate is a beautiful sight. It's a snow white. The entire estate turns snow white. The flower has a heady, nice jasmine-like perfume. Let me not call it jasmine, let me call it coffee blossom. Extreme, very intoxicating, and it's a beautiful sight with the bees buzzing and the perfume in the air and the snow white coffee farms. It's a beautiful sight. After which it matures into green beans and it turns red, usually red, yellow, or a dark purple in certain cases. In India, we harvest our coffees manually by hand. Okay, which is again very unique in comparison to most of the other countries which have mechanization to a large extent. here it is selectively picked to pick the ripest cherries first, which adds that extra quality touch to it, as well as the warmth which comes with personally hand picking it and selectively hand picking it. So these are some of the distinctions. After this is what I mentioned. It goes through the various processes, the pulping processes, and it is either dried on raised beds or in these drying yards, like you see in these images. Okay, what you see drying here is parchment coffee, what I said, the wash process coffee, which has to be raked evenly for uniform drying. So the entire process from growing it all the way up to the post-harvest processing is very, very critical when it comes to maintaining and preserving that unique quality of Indian coffees.
Does drying process change the taste of the coffee?
If you don't dry it well, coffees can get moldy and defective. Yeah, we have specific limits for moisture as well. We do not allow any moisture over 11.5% as per our Indian Coffee Board standards. This is specifically to prevent mold growth in coffee. So there's moisture present and the water activity is high. It leads to mold growth. The mold in turn, a fungi, basically ochratoxin, which is produced as a byproduct. And this toxin is a potential carcinogen. So to prevent all that and to increase the shelf life and preserve it for later use, this is very critical. That's the first stage, what we look at.
Sir, I would like to ask one thing. Where we see in the nameplates like it's Robusta Cherry PP and somewhere is something.
Yeah.
It's something like a grade that
These are
like given to particular
correct. Yes. So each one, if you say a plantation A is a superior grade, a B is the next, then you have C, then you also have the blacks, bits and brokens. See, like I said, it's an agriculture produce. You're going to have different sizes, different grades. Defects are going to come into the picture. But everything is tradable. Nothing goes to waste. Everything has a use to it. And that's the reason we grade it and differentiate the different grades of coffee based on the size, the defects present. And each one of it has a price assigned to it based on this. And we have AA. Before AA, we have the Mysore Nuggets Extra Board. That's the largest when it comes to the size. The second is AA, then A, then we have B, C, and then the bits and the brokens.
So
usually
we were fortunate enough to have the AA coffee.
Yeah, we generally have a good Arabica coffee, a wash processed, what we serve here.
Person he took his plantation.
Plantation A. So
All the coffee, like from A to the drawer, everything is being used.
everything,
Goes to
nothing goes to waste. So everything over here has some value and is tradable at the end of the day. As you know, most of our Indian coffees go in the green bean form for export. Nearly 70% to 80% of it is exported. The rest of it is consumed domestically as well, which is further roasted, value added. We have a huge instant coffee or a soluble coffee market or manufacturing facilities in India, which we shouldn't forget. They are mainly giving you a lot of GDP and revenue to the country as well. They use all these different grades of coffee to produce instant coffee here and send it to various other countries. Additionally, they also value add. They can get in coffee from other destinations, value add and re-export it. So it again adds a lot of value to the as to the GDP of the country, the other thing, in terms of coffee revenue coming from coffee earnings. You must have I'm sure you spoke to Dr. Babu Reddy over there. If you look at it on an average, we produce around 3.5 lakh metric tons, but our exports are sometimes 3.8, nearly 4 metric tons. That's due to the instant coffee, which is value added here and re-exported. That's why you see that figure being slightly different in terms of exports. That's all. Okay, moving on from the green beans, we also have the distinction of 5 regional GI coffees and 1 process-specific GI coffee. I showed you a specialty coffee called the Monsoon Malabar. If you look at the Monsoon Malabar, it's very different from a regular green bean. Usually a green bean is say bluish brown, bluish green, grayish yellow in terms. This is more looks a little bleached, bloated, slightly bigger in size. Okay, this is the distinction which comes due to the process it undergoes. So in earlier days, we used to ship our coffees. You see the logo there, it's very, very distinct. It's basically a ship, the Monsoon Malabar. In India, we monsoon both Arabica and Robusta coffees. In the earlier days, we used to ship our coffees through the sea route. So, of course, packaging was not so great. It used to go in wooden casks. In one such scenario, when it was basically shipped to a far-off destination, a Scandinavian country, the beans basically became Ladakh. It got bleached, bloated due to the monsoon winds blowing. And this in turn, when they consumed it, it had a very nice, mellow, nutty, a slight, I would say, in a good way, earthy character to it,
So
which they preferred.
added value for the
Yeah, the whole process which happened. So now to this day and age, we do it not by sending it by ship for 3 months. We have artificial warehouses. We have warehouses in the Malabar coast. It's a GI specific coffee. That
abbreviate what is
GI is a geographical indication tagged coffee. That means this coffee has to be processed in the Malabar coast for it to develop these characters. Now, for example, the region has certain microclimate or you have the monsoons coming in. This process is usually done between June to September for the 3 months, where these coffees are exposed to the monsoon winds now in these warehouses. They end up becoming bleached, bloated, after which they're dried to a certain moisture level, packed and sold for very high premiums, specifically on order. Okay, the process, these coffees are very, very important, and now they found out that it adds a lot of crema. The crema is that frothy layer what you get on a shot of espresso. So it adds value to an espresso. If you brew it as a standalone coffee, as a manual brew, it again has very distinct characters. Like I just mentioned, the mellowness and that slight subtle earthiness to it, very nutty and nice. So these characters give it that unique distinction. And like I said, it has to be done on the Malabar coast. It's not only the microenvironment, also the microflora present there act on the coffee. And this in turn imparts that flavor to the coffee. So if I throw the same coffee up during monsoon on my terrace here or in a warehouse here, it will not be the same. And that's one more distinction of that geographical region.
It has to be in Malabar.
Yeah, the Malabar coast. So it's basically between Mangalore to Calicut in the south of India. Yeah. So moving on, we have Baba Budan Arabica coffee, which has also got a GI tag. This is considered as the birthplace of Indian coffee. You know how the legend has it that the saint called Baba Budan actually they say he smuggled 7 bees into the country and he planted them on this particular hill.
It is actually.
I mean, we don't know for sure, but the legend goes so. Yeah, and it is considered so. You still find coffee growing in this region. The coffees are basically the slightly high-grown coffees, very distinct in their profiles in terms of it has bold, bright acidity in these coffees based on the elevation. And Baba Budan coffee is also popularly known as Giri coffees. Okay, and very popularly sold both domestically and internationally. Mainly Arabica growing belt, but of course there's a little bit of Robusta in the lower belts. Moving on, we also have Chikmagalur Arabica coffee. This is both in the same district. 1,000 meters and above is Baba Budan Giris. 1,000 meters and below is the Chikmagalur region. We have a geo-fence based on which, because of the regional characters, the coffees are very distinct. There's a lot of history, culture, of course the microclimate, the GI factors, as well as the coffee which adds distinction, and that's why they've got GI tags basically. So the center one is what we refer to as the mother logo. Okay, this is a lady like you see in that image there, hand harvesting, selectively picking coffee. You see the typical headscarf what they use, and you also see a bindi in this case just to depict that they always say women are very good at and more patient at selectively picking in comparison to maybe us men. More patient. So this is our mother logo. Then we have the Coog Arabica coffee, another very interesting region, geographically indication tag coffee, which has, again, due to the region, there are very unique characters. The culture around there, it is basically the Kodwas who dominate the Coog region. They have invariably been always associated with agriculture and growing coffee. So there's culture to it. There's a small conservation angle. In Coog, there's a concept called Devarakadus, means forest of the gods, if I can literally translate it. These are small patches, even in between a coffee estate, which is untouched. There is usually a local deity. They're basically ancestral worshippers and nature worshippers. There'll be maybe a stone, or they'll just worship the forest. This again acts as a nice preserve of that particular ecosystem there, which is not lost, around which you might still have coffee growing and they're doing their regular activities. All these characters and factors have also impacted the coffee per se and made them distinct, and hence they've got a GI tag. Then, of course, the most popular of late, the Araku Valley Arabica coffee, which has again been given a GI tag. These are mainly grown by tribal growers from the Araku or the Andhra region. Very popular these days. They have a first of their cafes, standalone Araku cafe, launched in Paris as well. It has given a whole source of livelihood to the tribals out there, per se. They were usually doing the zoom cultivation, where they slash the forest and then they grow, say, a legume or a grain for 3 months. Then again move on and slash another portion of the forest and move on. Coffee, it's called zoom cultivation or things like that. This coffee cultivation has given them a source of livelihood and also given them a base, because they need to settle down there and grow coffee. It's giving them good returns as well. Very popular. A lot of the cafes, both in India and abroad, seek a lot of Araku coffee. Yeah, Araku coffee. Then we have the Wayanad Robusta coffee. This is the only Robusta coffee currently which has a GI tag. It is, again, Wayanad is always known for its distinct Robustas they grow. It's mainly a Robusta growing belt. The Robusta beans generally end up golden brown after the drying process. So this Robusta coffee per se is very sought after and has that distinct bold nature that comes with a Robusta coffee. I'll never call a Robusta bitter and harsh. I would call it more bold and strong in its nature. And a combination of Arabica and Robusta gives you that super balanced cup. Yeah. And nowadays you have fantastic Robustas coming out of various regions, and including Wayanad, which can also stand out as a standalone cup, where you can brew it and consume it as a standalone Robusta. Okay. You'll all know that Arabicas are slightly the finer coffees in terms of its flavor, aroma, and taste. Robustas are usually considered, always given a slight stepmotherly treatment, unfortunately. But like I said, they're bold and strong in their own way. Okay.
Globally, I think Robusta is consumed more in European countries and Arabica more in US countries.
Not necessarily, but there is a demand for Robustas in some of the European countries, Italy specifically, because it goes very well in an espresso per se. So one of our biggest markets is the EU on the whole, if I can just put it that way. And of course, the Middle Eastern markets also are picking up. Okay. When we are speaking about the GI tags, we got 5 of the GI tags together in a single shot. All thanks to the excellent team I have here, all their efforts put together. We were awarded a small award from the GI registry as one of the only institutions to get 5 GI tags in one shot, okay, for 5 of the coffees. And we were given an award. We also have, this is our commemorative postal, what do you call these stamp covers for each of the GI regions. If you look at it, this is, I think, Wayanad. So similarly, we have for all the other different regions, from the Karnataka Postal Department. This is from Coog Coffee. These stamps also have an aroma to it.
Is it?
Yeah, they smell of coffee.
Nice.
Okay.
So we can actually smell it.
Yeah, you can actually smell it. This is
Some really powder.
No, it's basically this stamp which has an aroma attached to it. Similarly, for all the GI regions, we have a commemorative stamp, which is a collector piece. People go after it. This is Chikmagalur again. Okay. Similarly, we have for Baba Budan as well. Okay. Yeah. So this is. Yeah, that's something you should give. Yeah.
A stamp that
You must have seen newspapers also where you can smell. So, okay, now let's move into the lab.
So what are these awards for, sir? Do Coffee Board got an award or you are giving them?
So in this case, we give out awards. Of course, some of these are distinctions, like you saw the GI distinction we've got. Some of us work as judges elsewhere, so some of those awards. But more of this is very interesting. We have something called as the Flavor of India Fine Cup Award, which we do as an annual event, mainly to encourage growers to produce quality coffee. So from the past 3 years, we've started doing a new drive called the Know Your Coffee campaign. Okay. Initially, it was just a Flavor of India kind of a competition where people were asked to submit samples. We would evaluate it for its characters, both physically and in the cup, and then award the Flavor of India Fine Cup Award. We thought we'll tweak it. We realized that the smaller growers were not participating. It seemed that they got overwhelmed when we called it a competition. So we tweaked. We played with their psychology maybe, if you call it so. And we said, why not we call it Know Your Coffee, let your cup speak. And more in the form of giving them feedback on what coffees they produce. So we initiated this, and believe me, it's a super hit so far. We're getting a larger number of samples, a lot more smallholder farmers from various parts of India participating, and we still give out the Flavor of India Fine Cup Award, which is subtly put at the end.
is like a championship converted into a
Converted into a drive to bring about. Our overall intention here is to up the quality. Let's be honest, India doesn't have the volumes when it comes to, in comparison to the other countries. So our forte is quality. So we have to keep building on that. We can't get too complacent saying, okay, we've produced some of the finest Robustas, our Arabicas, always priced higher. But that's not it. We still need to keep our quality up. And until you encourage our main stakeholders, the farmers, to do so, there is no point moving forward. It's not going to be any different any further in terms of quality. So we did this small tweak. We still have the Flavor of India. We have 7 categories of awards we give based on the process and the varietal. So we have one for the washed Arabicas, one for the unwashed or the naturals. We also have another new category called experimentally processed. It can be a semi-washed, it can be anaerobically processed, it can be fermented with yeast, like various other things. We've also introduced, that's for both Arabica and Robusta, so that's 6 categories on the whole. We've of late introduced another category called alternate species. So with all this climate change and weather patterns changing, there is a small need to explore alternate species of coffee. So we said, why not encourage them? We also grow something called as Liberica and Excelsa in India. So Excelsa, basically they call it Mara Kapi. In Karnataka, it's called Mara Kapi. Colloquially, it translates to tree coffee, per se. So we introduced that so people can submit samples of that Mara Kapi, Excelsa or Liberica or any other species they're growing. In India, we also have about 20 odd native species. Okay, one what you must have heard of in the recent IICF is the Coffea whiteana, which is growing in the Pondicherry belt. We have Coffea bengalensis, we have Jenkinsi, we have Coffea cassiana, we have Coffea travancorensis. These are all native varieties. Of course, they're not big yielders, but we see potential maybe from a breeding perspective, from preserving that germ bank. They are more robust, but they may not be as productive, but at some point of time they can come of use. So to encourage people to still protect that germplasm in those regions, we've introduced this, and we've got some fantastic tasting Excelsas and Libericas coming in our way so far. So this is one of such awards. Some of these are, we have these national barista championships and a latte art, Brewers Cup. We also have the coffee in good spirits, what we introduced last year. This is mixing coffee with alcohol, alcoholic beverage, and it's a competition. And our champions, Coffee Board is the national body which is recognized by the World Coffee Events as the body authorized to conduct these competitions in India. We in turn have sponsored our national champion to represent India in the World Barista Championships and the World Latte Art Championships currently. In the coming years, we'll also have our champion representing India in the World Brewers Cup, World Coffee in Good Spirits, very soon in the World Roasters Championship and Cup Tasters Championship as well. So we plan to introduce this. This is more to encourage the next person in the value chain, that's basically the baristas and roasters, to get into, encourage them and give them a platform and showcase Indian coffees in good light at an international podium. This is our intention.
Through this, I think the whole country is participating.
Yeah, so it starts all the way from the grower. It moves on to the next person, the roaster, when we have the Roasters Championship in the future. Then we have the baristas. They're very important. Every stage, I said, all the way from brewing till the final roasting, brewing, to if you're retailing, packaging, everything is equally important in the entire value chain to, bring out that beautiful aromas and taste that coffees produce.
All the processes are interconnected.
Interconnected. The entire value chain is very close-knit and interconnected in its own way. It's a beautiful industry on the whole. Yeah.
We are getting to know about this in detail today.
Correct. Come, let's walk into the lab. I've taken you all through a basic introduction. Please come. Okay, this is basically our cupping lab. You see all the cupping tables here. We, of course, what I'll do is you also have the green coffee. This is how green coffee basically looks. You saw it outside. After the parchment cover, the cherry coat is. The next process is we need to roast it. So this is green coffee, this is roasted coffee. So I'll basically take you all through the small roasting process, how coffees. So when a coffee comes to a lab, it comes generally in the green bean form.
Okay.
We roast it and we cup it, basically.
So these are the big tables.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's basically, it's quite a, you will see the process eventually happening. Okay. So these are our sample roasters. Okay, these are basically our sample roasters. These are old Probats, a German company which makes them. Of course, you get them in India. I'll take you all further through. This is again a sample roaster with a little bit of AI integrated to it. So things are getting, that's a typical drum roaster. This is more of a Apple. Okay, so we roasters here. We have, again, it's basically a drum roaster. You have a flame here, a gas flame. Okay, I can even show it to you here for the camera. Like, you see a gas flame. You also get electric versions of this, and you have a rotating drum. Okay, but this is a very simple roaster. It has a temperature gauge, small controls for the gas, for the intensity of the flame per se. Okay, and you also have small airflow controls. If when I pull this, basically there's more air entering it. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is basically show you all maybe 2 or 3 different kinds of roasts. Okay, just for your understanding, it might take some. So I'm loading the green coffee. Of course, you see there's no aroma to it, nothing. This is all green coffee. Yeah. So you all can be certain that there's.
How roasting beans is not only science, it's more of art.
Now I want all of you all to keep all your senses alive. Here. Keep your ears, nose, eyes, everything. Roasting is not only science, but it's a lot of art at the end of the day. So it's a nice combination of art and science. So I have loaded one. Similarly, I'm going to be loading another. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to roast 3 different rows. Basically, now we'll go basically by visual to see how they end up visually. Okay, so I'll do a light roast, a medium, and a dark roast. Okay, just for you all to understand how. And like I said, please keep your senses alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the same coffee.
Same coffee. So I'll just show you two different roasts. Maybe one a light roast and one a medium roast.
So this light roast and medium roast and dark roast, it is only with the time or with the temperature also?
Both time, temperature, as well as, like I said, it's a lot of art. You notice I loaded it around 200 degrees Celsius, around 199. It initially dropped. That is because coffee is generally dry to a moisture around 11.5 to 12% is what I said. The moisture first dissipates. Okay, then it undergoes the next stage called as a yellowing stage. Can you see it slowly turns yellow?
Correct.
The coffee?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't even need to look at it. I know by the smells and aromas that it. So there's a lot of chemical reactions happening. It undergoes a Skechers reaction. It undergoes a Maillard reaction. And it undergoes caramelization. So to put it in very simple terms, you must have heard these different terminology or different roasts. So a light roast is also known as a cinnamon roast. Okay, that's because it basically when the coffee comes out after a light roast, it'll look like a bar or a stick of cinnamon, the color. Okay, to give you another perspective, look at it from a chocolate perspective. All of you all have eaten chocolate. So imagine a chocolate with 80% milk, 20% cocoa. How it would look visually, how it would taste in a small way. That's what a light roast would give. The light roasted coffee will generally have slightly more of the acidity and the fruity characters coming through. Okay, so you basically understand your coffee and roast it accordingly. So there is something which you must have also heard of called as profile roasting, right? So profile roasting is nothing but you're monitoring the time, temperature, and these small turns in the pattern. So there's another important thing called as rate of rise. So you saw the temperature dropping, then suddenly it starts rising again. That's called the rate of rise. So all this is plotted against time and temperature to give you a roast profile.
I think that machine works well.
Yeah,
Gives you graph.
correct. So here, of course, you don't see a graph. This is more at it, physical. Yeah. So this is where you learn, and this is what in turn is incorporated there and made into a graph. You can share graphs. I can use my phone to load it into the machine. I can sit in my office and monitor the roast. Okay, similarly, you start off here, evolve to that, then move on to our huge commercial roaster what we have, which helps you. So you do in a commercial roaster, you don't need to waste say 20 or 100 kilos of coffee for that. You can do 100 grams here, understand how that coffee behaves, and then evolve.
So this machine is for the small quantity,
Small.
and for the larger one, there is a
Commercial roast. This is called a sample roaster. So for most of our cupping protocols, we use the sample roaster because we just need about 100 grams of coffee to evaluate the good, bad, the ugly in the specific coffee session. The next stage, you will say slowly Maillard the browning reaction. From yellow, it's turning a little brown. Next, it will turn a little more chocolatey brown. Okay, I'll try it.
And this is still green.
This is still yellow, yeah, in comparison. So what you see here is a bean of coffee basically has a silver skin inside. It's all protective. It's at the end of the day, it's a living embryo or a seed. So that is what we are putting through all this process. So you understand from a live bean, it's dried, then it's again milled, then it undergoes the roasting to give you this. So
Now we can get it.
yeah, now you get more of a cereally, I would say a biscuity smell. Yeah, so if I can call it that.
What is the first crack in roasting?
The first crack is basically an indicator. Soon after the first crack, when you load it off the cylinder, basically when you get a light roast. Okay, it's an indicator to indicate that okay, the coffee is roasted to a level, one level, yes.
again the temperature is also going up now with it
See,
150.
yeah, it'll go up now. So I mean, this is going to take a good 9 to 12 minutes is what an ideal roast takes. So Again, do you all have the time or so you?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it.
whole day we have kept
So slowly, it's still it'll turn a little chocolatey brown. Like I said, a milk chocolate brown, and it turns into a bar of dark chocolate. Then, if I keep on roasting it to a dark roast, it ends up becoming a bar of bitter chocolate, if I can call it. So the darker you roast it, there's more sugar browning happening, and more of the sugars or more of the caramelization happening. So you've all eaten caramel custard. You all still like that caramelized sugar at the end, right? With that shape.
Smell it right now.
So you can actually smell the sugars burning.
So can we roast it very slowly like this one is roasted?
Yeah, you can.
Well,
You can dip.
Get half together.
Yeah, I mean, then it ends up usually baked. It's not roasted. Can you hear light the sim?
Now,
Yeah, so that basically the first track, which is a good indicator. Can you hear? We loaded this first. You can hear that, right? So the first track.
so now this is light.
This is a light roast. After the first track, just leave it for a few cycles and then pull it out. Generally, you get a light
The sound is the indication that's perceptible.
first crack. That yeah.
So like really country.
No, not it. Not it's one of the preferred roasts. Yeah. So you check whether it's basically okay, and then you unload the coffee. So what you get here is basically a very light brownish kind of a coffee. Ester. So this is what you call a light roast. So there's a cooling tray here, so it cools the coffee.
So this machine is pulling the air.
Yeah, pulling it in. So you see the cyclone system there, so it cools the air, throws it out, and pulls it. And on that shaft, what I showed you, that this thing what is falling out, that is also collected over there.
Okay.
Okay,
It's a defect in the
coffee.
beyond.
So these are basically underripe or immature beans, which are myth.
Okay.
So this is actually a good case study. This shouldn't be there in a even roast. But in this case, because I think they've just put some coffee what they found. And this is a good indicator. So see, now this is the first crack. This is more even. But then I'm leaving it a little beyond first crack. Okay? To give you all maybe a medium or a dark roast. Just to give you a comparison between the two.
So a perfect coffee, roasted coffee should not have this uneven.
Usually a good green bean will not have this. This can be always sorted. Okay. This will basically give you a little nutty, peanutty like nature to it. It shouldn't have it. It should be more even. Get through. So don't take an image of that.
Yeah. All these things we will edit here. Because in between, for our knowledge also, we are asking.
No, that is fine. But basically, like I said, so this in a way is a medium roast.
Okay.
Okay. See the color differing?
Yeah.
Yeah, in comparison to that. But now I'll just do a slightly dark roast so that you all understand. So this is even into the different batch of profit. So
One more thing, I can see the quantity still look high here, and this is
no, they must have not necessarily so. But yes, so what I would say with a darker roast, your volume of the beans come down, become more brittle and more lighter. So you must have also heard the theory saying that a dark roasted coffee has more caffeine. Simple logic is more beans are going in. That's all. Caffeine really doesn't degrade to a large extent due to roasting.
So it means it is losing its quality or
I won't say losing. Some bean might need a darker roast, okay, to give you that character. So like I said, people prefer certain roasts. Now, my preference might be a light roast because I want the fruity, the good acidity coming out, brightness. But somebody might want a roast like this, a medium roast. This will give you more balanced character of the fruity, nutty, chocolatey characters coming here. Somebody might want a dark roast to only have that slight bitter chocolate kind of notes coming in more dominantly. So depending on your preference, you can have different roast. Okay. So this is just to show you an indicator of what it is. Of course, this is again back to showing you how a green coffee has transformed to a roasted puff. Okay, just to so you'll correct. Okay, so we've done with the roasting. The same roasted coffees we will cup.
So this is green coffee, this is light coffee, and this is medium.
The coffees, we receive samples like this, which are coded so that it's completely blind when we are cupping. There is no bias involved. So you have codes. You Miss Muttama took your sample in. You saw how the process works. This is how a sample comes. We cuppers don't know where it's from. Then we roast it, like I showed you. And then Ramya and Sandeep, who are my colleagues, they're both coffee quality specialists out here, who are cuppers as well. We cup usually as a panel, three of us to 5 of us as a panel, and she will take you through the entire process of cupping from the stage of how it's ground to a particular weighed, ground and cupped. Okay, so I'll leave it to Ramya from here. Thanks, Ashish.